Militam yana tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. I forget where I was now. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chajigari Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo. Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Guru Rajadam Mangalam Panadikaksho Mangalaya Tanayari. Om Narayanaya Vimhi Vasudevaya Dimhi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate. Om Mahadevi Chabidhi Vishnu Pandita Dimhi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate. Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Sare Sari Hari Pre Namastubhyam Dire Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vindavaneshwari Vishavanasan Vishanami Pranaminis. Little fuzzy this morning. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vindavaneshwari Vishavanasateri Pranamani Hari Priya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachadini Nirvishesa Sanyori Praskada Desadari Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Good morning, everyone. Nobody on Facebook yet. Not two people listening, but nobody has checked in the comments section. I know Brent is going to India about now. He's going to spend some time on yatra with his future Guru Maharaj, the great Vaisheshika. Oh, here he is. Brent, what day do you go to India? We thought you might be absent because of getting ready for it today. And give me your dates also, because I just got an invitation to go to Tucson for the Shivaratri to be the MC. I'm told by Sandamani there that it's one of their bigger festivals and they get a lot of Westerners. And so I'm collaborating. Oh, you leave on Friday. When do you come back? You come back by the 10th of February? I'm trying to determine whether I can stay over on Sunday and give the Sunday feast talk or whether I should rush back. Anyway, let me know. There's no rush or anything. So Shivaratri in Tucson on March the 10th, Saturday. And just got word also last night, Miami, second annual Miami Festival of Colors, April 13th. Calendar's filling up here for the Caru. All right, thank you very much. Today our topic is the principle of attraction. We're not, although you look at a new car and shiny, it's polishing, it's very attractive. They even manage in a lot of cases to put scent, a solid object like a child's toy or a vehicle. There's that, people talk about that new scent, that new car scent, that new toy scent, that new scent of your mattress that you just bought. Point of sale retailers and manufacturers are so clever, especially in America, that they know how to incorporate, attract not just the visual sense, but smelling, hearing, touching, tasting, and so on and so forth, in order that person be unable to resist the impulse to buy that brand new item on show there. But essentially, for there to be real attraction, there must be the soul inside. Every new car that you drive off the lot, as soon as you drive it off the lot, it becomes a used car. And whatever attraction you had for that brand new, shining, polished car, it can never equal the attraction that you felt when you first saw it in the showroom on a nice floor, maybe even turning with lights on it and being polished every half an hour. From there, it's all downhill. Cars is not meant to be loved. Car neither loves you, nor is it meant to be loved. It's essentially a dull, dead object. There is no object on which you can put your love and be satisfied, because objects have no feelings, they have no sentiency. For love, as we talked yesterday, our topic yesterday was love needs two. There's no possibility of love unless there's two. So people say, I love my house, I love my car, I love my iPad, I love my iPhone. That's not love. I don't know what it is, but it's not love, because for love, the object of the love must have sentiency, and then that love can be and should be reciprocated. Love is this, it's back and forth, give and take. It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. We can't love any object in which there is no soul. For there to be love, there must be two. That's what we talked about for 45 minutes or more yesterday. Therefore, material things, because of a lack of a soul, they don't have any atma, they cannot love us back. And neither should we talk about loving material things. Things are to be used, not loved. People are to be loved, not used. That's our takeaway today. And as such, I'm going to repeat it again. Things are to be used, not loved. People are to be loved and not used. And I think we have it backward for the most part, isn't it? We use people and we love things. Ask yourself, why do we find the people around us attractive and beautiful? Isn't it because of the presence of the soul? Why would anyone want to merge their eternal, unique, individual soul into and become one and non-differentiated from some sort of spiritual force field? Why would anyone want to be what we call an impersonalist? Why would anyone want to take duality, two-ness off the table? Because if you take duality, two-ness off the table, you take love off the table also. You take off of the table. It's like you amputate your tendency, your nature, your very nature to love and to give of yourself to another, and you deny yourself the opportunity to be the recipient of love, and not just the recipient of love of anybody. But if you want to become one with God, then you deny yourself the opportunity to have the supreme personality of God, the ultimate, attractive, entirely spiritual, omnipotent, omniscient, the best looking person, lavish his love on you. What you're missing, you can't, oh, oy vey, can't even imagine what the impersonalists are missing. They're to be pitied. They're to be pitied, those who are monists. Paramananda Saraswati said, Kaivalyam narakayate tridasha puraka pushpayate durtendriya kala sharpa patalidam shrayate vishram purnam vidi mahendrishta shikayate. Kaivalyam narakayate tridasha purakasha pishai. Kaivalyam means those who want to become one. They want to give up their precious selfhood. They want to give up their not just their false ego, but they actually want to give up ego itself. The false ego says, I'm this body, I'm black, I'm white, I'm male, I'm female. But the real ego is, I'm eternal spirit, soul, part and parcel of God. That's the real ego. In Krishna consciousness, we don't throw out ego altogether. We throw out false ego, leaving behind the real ego. We don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We just throw out the bathwater, which is false ego based on this bodily identification. But we keep the real ego. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kavanai. We are, who are we? We're not black, white, Christian, American, Hindu. We are eternal servant of Krishna. That's real ego. And we cherish that. We nourish that. And we connect that in yoga to the supreme ego, to the supreme person, Krishna. Now, those who would make them one, who would merge the supreme spirit and individual spirit, mix them up, lump them all together, ignoring the differences in power, the differences in beauty. We have power, we have beauty, but our power, our beauty is only a minute, infinitesimal reflection of the unlimited beauty of Krishna. The light and heat which is produced from a single particle of sunlight, which you can't even see under a microscope, is very insignificant compared to the light and heat which it comes from the sun. I read somewhere that the amount of energy, the amount of light and power that comes from the sun in 1 second is more energy than has been used to power the entire human race on Earth planet since the beginning of whatever. You see, 1 second from the sun. We are not to be conflated. The particle of sunshine is not to be conflated with the sun itself. Therefore, Parvananda Saraswati says, Kaivalyam narakayate. Those who want to give up, commit suicide, to sacrifice their ego by merging into spirit, have hellish mentality. It is a mentality of hell. To deny yourself the ability to surrender in love to your supreme creator, your lover, your father, your benefactor, who is incidentally accompanying you in the region of the heart since like forever. And even more importantly, the opportunity to have that supreme person lavish his love on you is pitiful. Now let's just, when I was kind of going over these notes and thinking about this, I thought of something. I saw that the recent Super Bowl last Sunday, after the fact, we had our feast, and it was interesting that in spite of the Super Bowl, a lot of people came. There was a class from BYU. I forget the name of the teacher. I think his name was Rick. He brought quite a few students, and there were a lot of various and sundry other people. I was just arriving back from Phoenix Rath Yatra. I drove in the middle of the feast. It was in progress. The lecture and Arti had just finished, and people were coming downstairs as I came in. And I was surprised. The parking lot was full, and there were a ton of people coming downstairs from the temple to the buffet. I heard after the fact, the viewership, the number of people watching the Super Bowl was a record, something like 123 million watch a Super Bowl. I heard that for those who wanted excitement, who wanted suspense, who wanted a cliffhanger, a nail biter, they were not disappointed. And of course, I know enough about it to know that at the most dramatic moment, when everything's in the scales, when the team is, it looks bad, they're under the gun, they've only got a short time, 20, 30 seconds to come up even and surpass the other opponent. I know enough about it that Patrick Mahomes made a run at the crucial moment. He did what everybody hoped for. He did what he's able to do. He did what he's done so often. He did what brings people up out of their seats, screaming their lungs with goosebumps and their hair on their shoulders. He at a crucial moment, he made a 24-yard run and set his team up for the win in the final seconds of overtime. I know enough that's come up to me on Facebook to know that much. Okay. Having said all that, who is Patrick Mahomes? Is he a Kansas Cityite? No. Is he a Kansas City Chief? No. Is he a football player? No. Is he brown hair? No. Is he male? No. He is. He is, aside from all the coverings, he is that person on whose eyes 123 million people were glued with bated breath, sitting on the edge of the seat. And after he accomplished what he was able to accomplish, which is quite wonderful, actually, people just explode out of their seats, things flying here and there, people hugging each other, pounding each other on the back, at least if you're a Chiefs fan. Okay, here's my point. You might be thinking, True, are you in Maya? No, I'm just a storyteller, and I like to build things up to the conclusion. So the more details I have, the better you'll understand my point. Okay, so all right, True. I think it's time you got to the point. All right, I do too. 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. That is the soul in the body of the athlete, the superstar, the darling of everybody on Monday morning, especially if you're from Missouri or Kansas City. 1/10,000th the tip of the hair. All that attention, all that suspense, all that drama, all the viewership, all the money. Yet what 1 30-second commercial during the game is $7 million. All of that revolves around one part of Krishna, which is, read my lips, 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. Now, you think that was my point? No. Now I'm coming to the point. If 1/10,000th particle, separated particle of Krishna could generate so much excitement, so much revenue, so much adulation, so much suspense, imagine Krishna himself, from which comes all living entities, just like the number of particles emanating from the sun globe are innumerable and uncountable. Just stop for a moment on this Tuesday morning and contemplate how attractive is the source of all of this attractiveness. Why is it that we find? Of course, we'll all forget him. Fame is but a slow decay, and this will pass away. This is from one of my poems here. Fame is but a slow decay, and this will pass away. People have forgotten in a week and 2 weeks what to speak of once next season starts. By next Super Bowl, it'll be all forgotten. Fame is but a slow decay, and this will pass away. But what is it that makes an athlete in tennis or football or swimming, soccer, all these people that are glorified in hero, what is it that makes, or a beautiful woman or beautiful man, an intelligent person, a brilliant scientist, a great speaker? Why are we attracted to them? It's because of the presence of the 1/10,000th tip of a hair soul inside the body. That's what gives them vitality. That's what gives an aura to them. It's on the basis of the soul that the body performs athletic feats, or the body attracts people with its beauty, or the body and the mind speak wonderful philosophy or poetry, or the halftime show is also an example of the supernatural qualities of the individual soul expressing itself through the musicians, through the vocalists, through the dancers. Superhero is a good example. I think, Brett, when you gave your talk, it was Super Bowl or Super Soul. So yesterday afternoon we had a choice. So the whole world had a choice: Super Bowl or Super Soul. You want to go to the Super Bowl and be totally bamboozled, totally illusioned by a tiny fragment of Krishna's energy, or let's be generous to say 22 fragments of Krishna's energy, representing 11 49ers and 11 Kansas City. You want to go and just be all dumb, all dumbed up in front of the TV. But that Super Bowl or Super Soul, you want to come to the temple and find out what's behind all this brouhaha, what's behind all this hype, you see. Get to the source of it all. And of course, the atma, the souls in each one of those athletes, is not the source. They're not their own creators. Their source is Krishna, who is the reservoir of all athleticism, of all prowess, of all beauty, of all knowledge. In his game-changing 24-yard run, this quarterback showed speed, he showed agility. He's avoided for 1/4 of the football field opponents, big hulking opponents who themselves are very athletic, very fast. He, for 24 yards and maybe 3 seconds, 4 seconds, He juked and bent and shuffled, and he got 24 yards down the field within range to score. Okay, here's Krishna. Let's go back to the Mahabharata, 5,300 years ago. On one day of the battle, because of the benediction which Jayadratha got from Lord Shiva benedicted Jayadratha that he would be able to stop 4 of the Pandavas in their tracks for one day and one day only. Arjuna was not to be one of them. Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadeva. But what had happened is that the opposite party, just make it short, had formed themselves into a circle formation. Arjuna's son, Abhimanyu, knew how to get into that circle formation. He knew how to penetrate and disrupt the Kaurava soldiers, but he didn't know how to get out. So Yudhishthira said, you go in, and your 4 uncles, Arjuna was somewhere else in the battle, we'll protect you. We'll guard your wills. You go in, we'll go in with you, and then we'll bring you out. So Abhimanyu took the point. He lashes horses forward, and he punctured this wheel-like formation of the enemy. However, when Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula, and Sahadeva went to enter that breach that he made, who should come into the breach but Jayadratha? Normally, Jayadratha was a fig compared to any one of those words, but because of the benediction of Lord Shiva, Jayadratha was especially empowered for a couple of hours, and he actually stopped the 4 Pandava brothers from following Abhimanyu in. Abhimanyu was isolated, he was cut off. He did achieve disruption of the enemy. He killed 10,000 soldiers. He won the victory for the day, but he himself was ganged up upon and slaughtered. When Arjuna heard about this, he said, next day, I'll kill Jayadratha, or I'll enter into fire. When Duryodhana's spies heard about this promise of Arjuna, Duryodhana thought, all we have to do is keep Jayadratha alive for one day, and then Arjuna will commit suicide and we'll get victory. Therefore, whereas on the previous day he'd organized his forces like a whirling wheel, on this day to protect Jayadratha, he organized his forces, and we're talking about 3 million soldiers here, the better part of 3 million soldiers. He organized them in the form of a needle. In the form of a needle. The wide part of the needle was facing Krishna and Arjuna. The narrow part of the needle tapered back. There was Jayadratha. You know how long the needle was? 49 miles. Oh, the celebrated hero of the Super Bowl had to negotiate his way forward 24 yards and avoid 11 people that were trying to stop him. Okay, 1/10,000 tip up here. Here's Krishna, the chariot driver of Arjuna. And during the daylight hours, hostilities would start at daylight, and no matter what happened, they'd stop at sunset. That was non-negotiable. That was set in stone. So as Arjuna's chariot driver, Krishna had to get Arjuna through 49 miles. And these aren't just guys with shoulder pads and helmets who have to attack you. They have javelins, they have spears, they have arrows. They even had guns. It says Yudhishthira had guns on his chariot at that time. And they were riding horses and elephants. What to speak of 11 guys who are unarmed? Krishna has to juke and shuffle and engage in broken field running with the chariot and 4 horses through 49 miles inhabited, populated by 3 million soldiers, every one of which was armed, every one of which knew that if they could stop Arjuna and Krishna, and especially if they could kill Arjuna, that would be the end of the hostilities. The war would be over. They'd go back, enjoy the kingdom, enjoy their victory, go back to their wives and children. That's all they had to do was kill Arjuna. On the other hand, Krishna had to get Arjuna not just 24 yards and not just past 11 unarmed opponents, but 49 miles past 3 million armed opponents. And he did it. He did it. Just compare the two stories. We are not God. We're not God. We have brilliance, we have athleticism, as was exhibited, as 123 million people saw. If they were looking for excitement, if they were looking for drama, if they were looking for supernatural feats of athleticism, they happened not to be disappointed on Sunday. They got what they bargained for, but what they're missing out on is the adventures, the activities, the pastimes of that supreme personality Godhead, of whom Patrick Mahone is only 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair, or for that matter, any one of the other 22 players. So imagine you got just a little tiny taste, and now it's Tuesday and it's fading, the excitement's off, people are moping around, it's over, we look forward to it for the whole football season, and then last week there was so much hype, we could hardly stand it. We we were focused on the big game, the big workout, and now you've got to feel let down. You've got to feel drained. You've got to feel empty. You've got to feel purposeless. So our suggestion is think about what is, in fact, the attractive principle. Don't get distracted by God's emanations and end up worshiping God's indirect, separated energies in the form of athletes and beauty queens and ice skaters and brilliant speakers and politicians and leaders and soldiers. Recognize there's one common source of all personalities, of all sentient beings. What to speak of human beings? Animals are bursting with personality. You just have to notice them. You have to not take them for granted. They're not background. They're not just a piece of flesh on a plate. They're not here for your exploitation, for you to terrorize them and eat their flesh. If you notice them, if you pay attention to the pig and the chicken and the turkey, to the degree that you have paid attention to the cat and dog, you wouldn't be able to eat them. You'd realize that they say a chicken has more personality, more intelligence than most dogs. And pigs' intelligence is off the charts, off the charts. If you looked around you, knowing that there is one supreme personality, one ultimately attractive personality who has lent his splendor to each and every living being, then you would see God everywhere. You wouldn't be hijacked by the big gala sporting events and the brouhaha and the hype. And you wouldn't be cheated of your natural birthright. We have the right to claim Krishna as our own. We are his parts and parcels. We are his sons and daughters. We have his blood in our veins, and he has everything available for us. He will not deny anything for the spiritual progress and advancement and enrichment of his devotees. But we're not interested. We're off somewhere else. We're in La La Land, seeing all the different names and fragmented portions of God's creation, missing the center point. Watering, so to speak, the twigs, flowers, leaves, and branches of the tree, and neglecting to do the most essential thing, which is to water the root of the tree. Now I ask you, if we find people attractive and beautiful, to the point 123 million people will be looking at their every move for 3 hours. Companies will be spending $7 million to be a part of that, to get on that screen in front of those people. Why do we find those people that attractive? And the answer is there is a spark of the all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead within their body. So if that person is beautiful, that person is alluring, what to speak of the demigods and the higher planets? It is said that the beauty of the most beautiful women here on earth are defeated, are eclipsed by the beauty of the Apsaras, the heavenly dancing girls who inhabit the heavenly abode of Indra. They are described as many, many hundreds of times more beautiful than the beautiful women in this material world who are made of gross flesh and blood. The Apsaras and the heavenly planets are also made of matter. Their bodies are also material, but a more subtle version of matter. So their beauty exceeds and excels the beauty of Britney Spears, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or Taylor Swift, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, by many thousands of times over. And if the damsels, if the beautiful girls of this material world are attractive, and if the Apsaras who inhabit the upper planetary systems of this material world are thousands of times more attractive than the most attractive girls in this material world, then what to speak of the females who have their eternal spiritual bodies, who live along with the Lord in the kingdom of God, in the opulent capital city of Dwarka? What to speak of the wives of Krishna in Dwarka, headed up by Rukmini, Satyabhama? And if the queens of Dwarka are thousands of times more beautiful than the Apsaras of the heavenly planets, or thousands of times more beautiful than the most beautiful women in this material world, then what to speak of the gopis of Vrindavan, the cowherd maidens of Vrindavan, who sported with Krishna in his infancy before he went off and lived the opulent life of a king in Dwarka fort? What to speak of the beauty of the gopis now? If the beauty of the gopis, the rural milkmaidens of Vrindavan, are 1,000 times more beautiful than the beauty of Krishna's queens in Dwarka, and if their beauty is thousands of times more beautiful than the beauty of the Apsaras who inhabit the upper planetaries in the material world, and if the beauty of the Apsaras is thousands of times more beautiful than the most beautiful rock stars and performers and beauty queens of this material world, what to speak of Srimati Radharani, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanusute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye. Fact is, only attraction that one body can feel for another is because of the presence of the soul in that body. We are not attracted to the body. If we were attracted to the body, then when the atma or the soul leaves the body, we'd still be attracted, would we not? Would we not? Imagine a beloved passes away prematurely in youth, and you walk up to the body, the shell, which is in which the soul is no longer present. Isn't it ludicrous to think that you would want to have a meal with that body, or go dancing with that body, or take that body for a walk? I remember there was a movie many, many years ago, and part of it was spoofing this very point. It was called Kentucky Fried Chicken. It wasn't a single plot or single narrative. They weren't telling a story, but they just had little kind of satirical skits, and one of them was on this very point. If it is the body to which we're attracted, then after the soul leaves the body, we should just keep the body around. And maybe to prevent it from rotting and stinking, we could embalm it, call it an embalmer, preserve it some or other. So in this skit from this movie, Kentucky Fried Chicken, this family, there was a older son, there was a daughter, and then there's another boy and the parents, and the boy had passed away. But they refused to acknowledge that the living entity itself was gone. They were continuing with the farce that the body was what was attractive. And so you saw these various scenes where the family's sitting down to dinner, the parents are sitting down, the older brother, the sister sitting, and the kid who passed away is there with his face in the mashed potatoes. And then you switch to a scene where, you know, they're all at the pool and they jump in one after another, and then they throw the brother in, and he floats face down in the water, so on and so forth. And that's assuming that there had been embalming taking place, because otherwise, let me ask you this question. When the soul is in the body, who appreciates the body more than family members? To whom is the body more dear than family members by birth or by marriage? Family members are, the definition of family members is this closeness, this intimacy, this connection. And yet, as soon as one family member's soul leaves the body, it is or are those very same family members who lavished affection, intimacy, and attachment on that person. As soon as the soul leaves the body, are those very same family members who very quickly get rid of the body. They are the ones to whom it is entrusted to cremate the body. In our Indian culture, the body is so repulsive, so abhorrent. Not only is the body not what attracts us, but once the attractive feature, the soul, leaves the body becomes absolutely repulsive. We know it's only a matter of hours before it begins to stink and smell, and the eyes are going to pop up and the skin's going to melt. In India, the traditional custom is if someone dies during the day, they should be cremated before sunset. If they die at night, they should be cremated before sunrise. And it is the family, those who love that person most deeply, who are the ones entrusted with and in charge with and motivated to cremate the body ASAP. They don't want some stinking, rotting old body hanging around the house. To allow the soul to make its transition, and that which the soul inhabited for 60 or 70 years is no longer useful. It's no longer desirable. It's like garbage. It served its purpose, but now it's old and useless. Vasamsi janani atave haya navani grinati nirupane. As long as a leaf and a flower and a fruit is attached to the tree, they're getting water from the root. The leaves are useful. The flowers are aromatic and fragrant. They're decorative. The fruits are tasty and sweet, palatable and relishable. But as soon as they're detached from the tree and no longer getting nourishment from the root of the tree, the fruit is all wrinkled, withered, dry. The flower is brittle. You know, it's yellow. The leaf is yellow. The leaf is no longer soft and smooth and pliable. Everything becomes repulsive. The beauty is no longer there as soon as the attachment is gone. So similarly, the body is no longer attractive once the soul leaves it. Now, what's a corollary? What's a corollary? As the body is no longer attractive once the soul leaves it, even when there's a soul in the body, when there's life there, if that soul is not engaged in serving the Lord in some way, shape, or form, if he's not cultivating his connection to the root, if he's not awakening his propensity to love the all-powerful, all-attractive, all-beautiful source of himself, and if he's not taking the opportunity to be loved himself, adored by the Lord of Lords, the Supreme Personality of God, then even within the body, he's dead. Even a body in which there's a soul living, but that soul is devoid of God consciousness, can I say that is also repulsive? It may not stink, it may not smell in a obvious way, but it does stink, it does smell as far as the consciousness is concerned. Saru Yam Bapi Shamaram Chadidea Yapari Yadi Bhave. Each one of us, by the decisions that we make or the decisions that we don't make, we create a certain consciousness. Just as aroma is created from flowers, aroma is created from garbage pits, We have our aroma. We each one of us, based on the books we read, the food we eat, the movies we watch. We have 3 or 4 volunteers here. You probably know that we do the Wolfer and we do the Workaway Problem. And these young people come. They come to stay here. They read about our profile about yoga and bhakti, and they say, "I want to learn all about it. I want to take full advantage of my time. I want to enrich myself and come and learn about bhakti." And they come from all over the world. They work 4 hours a day, 6 days a week for room and board. And we don't proselyte or anything. I tell them when they arrive here, we're not gonna buttonhole you. We're not gonna shove stuff down your throat. But we love to answer questions. So you just ask us questions. You just squeeze us, and we'll give you the nectar. But we're not gonna like impose upon you. I tell them that. The only mandatory program we have is this Sunday feast at 5 o'clock, because it's open to the public. The talks we give, both myself and Brad Jai Krishna, very universal talks, palatable for everyone. So that's the only requirement that we have, Sunday feast. Now, what happens is they come here because they're interested in the spirituality, the bhakti yoga, and the prasadam. They want to know about the culture, but it's so easy for them to get sidetracked. It's so easy to get sidetracked. There are many who took full advantage, asked questions, attended the programs morning and evening, as well as the Sunday feast, who really got a good grasp of what bhakti is and went away being enriched. But there are many more who come and just don't take advantage. You know, the intentions that they had in applying here in the first place, once they get here, they get their own little subcult going, especially if there's females and there's the whole girl boy thing. Then there's skiing, there's snowboarding, and Sunday there was the Super Bowl. So I'm away in Phoenix, but Bhai Bobby told me the story. The 3 guys that we have staying here, and they're good guys, but you know, I think at least, you know, they're not getting the full benefit that they could be getting, which is not atypical, I have to tell you. So they went to Vaibhav and they said, "We know the Sunday feast is mandatory," and they don't attend most of the programs during the week. So Sunday is really, and they don't ask a lot of questions. They're good guys, but just kind of average as far as their spiritual IQ is concerned. They don't ask a lot of questions. They don't squeeze us. They don't attend the morning Bhagavatam class. They don't attend the evening. The one mandatory program is the Sunday feast. So they came to my Bobby. They said, "Can we please miss the Sunday feast and watch the Super Bowl?" My Bobby said, "Okay. We hate to torture you." And that's why Brett's talk was Super Bowl or Super Soul. So our very own volunteers, you know, live here and came here because they want to know bhakti. They opted for Super Bowl rather than Super Soul. That's so funny. And so we should know Krishna, and we should know ourselves as parts and parcels of Krishna. We should know that as the parts, it is our success in life to reconnect with Krishna, to choose the super soul and not the Super Bowl, to become beautiful and vibrant and full of knowledge and excited about your future. As a young person, you know, you can do a lot of meaningless things and still be fresh and still be bright and still be attractive. But if you don't take advantage of your youth, if you don't invest your youth in cultivating spiritual knowledge, if you're doing the same things at 40 and at 50 and 60 that you're doing 20, you're just going to be a clown. You're going to end up being a clown. Youth is not meant to be frittered away in frivolous, supercilious pastimes. We have our youth, we have our intellect, we have our intelligence, we have our energy to invest in our future so that when we get on in life, we be enriched, we be replete with love of God. And not only will that make our lives successful, Bharata Bhumite Hayu Nusha Janma Shartika, but having invested our youth and our intellect and our energy properly, not wasted it in frivolous pastimes which are meaningless in the end, as and out, invested them, then we will not only have a rich, full, meaningful, exciting life throughout our middle and aged years, but we will also be a light and a beacon and an example for future upcoming generations. That's my last word on the subject. I think we were pretty controversial today. If I offended anyone, please excuse me. I guess I'm feeling a little confrontational, a little feisty this morning. I am pumped up by the prospect of going Shivarati in Tucson and going to Festival of Colors in Miami. And one thing that really, really excited me about Phoenix is the program, the stage program after the festival. It was beautiful dances, beautiful, well-trained, graceful girls, one after another, 2 or 3 minutes each dance, one after another for 3 hours, depicting the pastimes of Krishna. Great, fantastic, wonderful, beautiful young girls, gracefully having been trained to glorify Krishna. The problem is, it gets, it's just this, it just goes on and on with no break or no balance or no real preaching. So I had the opportunity, I worked out a formula with my co-MCs that two dances and one rap. 2 or 3 minute dances, 5-minute dances, 6-minute dances, and 4-minute rap. And we went through the whole afternoon, and it was fortunate because they said normally there are many more dancers, but because there was a threat of rain, it never came, but there was a threat. Many of the dancers canceled. And that was the best thing could have happened because there was time for me to come in with my raps on Bhagavad Gita, on reincarnation, and karma, on Hanuman, and give knowledge, give knowledge. And it was so gratifying to me to see these young kids, 10, 12, 14, 16 years old, sitting in the front 3 or 4 rows, hanging on every word I said. They've been, in their young years, as young as they were, they've been to Rath Yatras 1 year ago, 2 years ago. And as far as what they had expected, one dance after another, mostly females, only one male, I think, danced during the all afternoon. And in fact, there wouldn't have been room for me if some of the dancers hadn't canceled. They would have had an agenda that within 3 hours to get like 50 dancers on stage, and I would have made my trip there in vain. It would have been a waste of time. But fortunately, by Krishna's arrangement, many of the dancers canceled. So every third thing was me jumping in. I got about 10 or 12 raps down. And I could see the kids, what they expected and what they got. They were very pleasantly surprised. And instead of just one dance after another, I came on, and the kids were like leaning forward, smile, and I could see that, at least hope, that there's some seeds planted there. That not only am I lit up at the age of 77, glorifying Krishna through poetry and rhythms and rhymes, not only am I helping myself, but I have a strong feeling that I was also helping those children to get a vision of how they can interface with Krishna in a very satisfying and profitable and meaningful way in the 50 or 60 or 70 years that they have ahead of them. I only have 2 or 3 years, but they have 50 or 60 years. And if I can plant a seed, give them a vision of what they can be in due course of time, then I've not only helped myself, but helped others. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta told Prabhupada. He said, you should go and preach in the West. That will do good to you, and that will do good to others. So Prabhupada told me at the age of 76, you're not done. You've done many things, but you're not done. You start a career of rap at 76. That will help you. That'll help others. Gosh, I can't even stop myself. I just go on and on today. I don't know what's something in the water I drank this morning. I don't know. Oh, Lakshmi Dishri goes, And then you said at the end of the program, it's a wrap. That's what I need to do. I need to stop rambling on and wrap it up. But first, let's just see who we got and what they have to say. Chris Castro, who incidentally was here as a volunteer for a year. And I would say he was not among those who blew it off. He was one of the elites who really took the lessons to heart. Uh, Chris says the power of a change of consciousness. Whoops. Whoa, what happened there? Oh, the power of change of consciousness is great. Something to work towards every day. Chris is a good example of that. Chris Codger says 2 or 3. I see a lot of life yet. How many years I have is up to Krishna. But honestly, I can't expect much because already statistically, I've lived my life. I've lived the average lifespan of the male in America. Plus, I think I'm already 5 years over. The average male in America dies at 72. I'm 77. So I'm living on borrowed time. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to be morbid, but I'm not going to stick my head in the sand either. I could go at any time. Patricia, Haribo. We had Oscar out in the front in the temple, not just in the back, but he was right on this sign and greeting people as they came in the door all day long. He was there all day long and he was having such a great time interacting with people. At 8 o'clock, when we time to close the temple, he didn't even want to leave. He wanted to stay there. We said, Oscar, nobody else is going to come. Finally, we persuaded him to come back to the house. And when you come, Patricia, and I hope you're going to come, I want to show you this aviary so that the birds wouldn't be in their cages all winter long. My Bobby turned the whole front porch of the house into this huge aviary. There's lots of room for them to climb around on tree branches, lots of window space. They look out in the front yard and the traffic all day long. Much better alternative than being locked into a little cage. T2 Puriyasta. Purkayasta. He drops in on us every once in a while. Lakshman is showing a nice analogy about being detached from a tree. On a morning walk in Central Park, Prabhupada stopped at a branch that had fallen from the tree and hit the big branch with his cane and said, Ashara. That means disconnected. So he said if a disciple disconnects from the parampara, they become asara, disconnected. Asara is also another meaning of asara is useless. They become asara or disconnected and their devotional creeper dries up and dies. Then he said it may look alive when first disconnected, but eventually dries up. Yeah. Right after a leaf detaches, it's still green, it's still shiny, it still appears to be full of vitality. But as the hours and days go by, it just withers and dries. Asara, useless. So we say a body without a soul is useless, but a soul without Krishna consciousness is also useless. And I say Krishna because that's our name for God. But you can be, Jehovah conscious, Allah conscious. It's a non-sectarian process. But Brent says the body is not attractive unless the soul makes it active. Very, very simply put, Krishna's prowess can beat that of any athlete. Exactly. 49 miles he exhibited broken field running. And he got Arjuna where Arjuna needed to be before sunset. Chris Castro says, the story of your marathon chapter is a great one and your running group story. You are an instrument, brother. I don't know which story that was. I don't know which story. I ran a lot of marathons, have a lot of running stories. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but gotcha, man. Brent says, it's not enough to love stuff. We're meant to love Krishna, even though his embrace may sometimes appear rough. Once again, it's not enough to love stuff. We're meant to love Krishna, even though his embrace may sometimes appear rough. Love is, here's a short one. Here's an all-time short one. Love must be between two to be true. That's Brent again. You know what the shortest poem in the English language is? I forget who wrote it, but it's I, comma, Y. I, Y. So this is up there in that category. Love us between two to be true. Priya Krishna Das every day now for about 3 weeks. Feeling fortunate enough to join today. Prabhuji, please accept my obeisance. All glories to Prabhupada. Namamrita, please accept my obeisances. Brent leaves on Friday. Not sure when you come back. Let me know when you come back. Lakshmi Nishringa is 74. Getting up there, my man, my friend. Okay. You want to sign off here, Rob, with your poetic creations?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
I am
Krishna.
driving, so I wasn't able to write any down, but I do have one from memory, maybe two.
Go ahead.
So our, let's see, our differences are not so stark when we remember we're all a divine spark.
That's good. So our differences are not so stark when you remember what?
We are all a divine spark.
Okay, if you get a chance, text that to me. The computers. Haribol, everybody. Haribol.
Haribol.